Hello everyone, welcome to today's session on 10 steps to BIM, how AEC firms can prepare for coming mandates. My name is Emmanuel Maenda. I'm a technical sales specialist at Autodesk, and I'm joined by my colleague Vijay Raina, who's a senior technical sales specialist for Middle East and Africa. Welcome to today's session. A little something about myself. I currently work at Autodesk based in the Nairobi, Kenya office. I've had 10 years experience, my chief background being civil and structural engineering technologist, having worked in diverse industries like civil engineering. I also worked briefly as a CAD designer and a CAD engineer for a MEP and plant company. And I've also had combined 4 years experience working as a technical sales representative, both part-time and full-time, both in Kenya and Ethiopia. I've also worked, just prior to joining Autodesk, I was a Revit and BIM 360 implementation enthusiast. And my profile is on LinkedIn as Emmanuel Maenda. If I'm not talking about Autodesk, I probably might be finding me somewhere flying a drone, talking about aviation. I'm very passionate about cars. I'm passionate about technology and the effect that it brings and how it really changes the way human beings work.
Thank you, Emmanuel, and hello everyone. My name is Vijay Raina. I'm the Senior Technical Specialist for AEC products at Autodesk, being responsible for the Middle East and Africa regions. I have almost 20 years of AEC industry experience working in India, Middle East, Southeast Asia, as well as Africa. I have been one of those early adopters and advocate of BIM and related processes across the various project lifecycle. I believe that AEC industry, by adopting the BIM, can lead the future of making. I joined Autodesk Middle East team and Middle East and Africa team from Autodesk Singapore office, where I spent almost 4 years as a technical specialist. I have a mechanical engineering degree with a hands-on experience and was working as a BIM manager in Middle East before joining Autodesk. All right, so let me hand over back to Emmanuel, who is going to talk about what is BIM and why BIM. Then I will come back and we will discuss about the 10 steps, how you can use those 10 steps to get ready for the BIM and the BIM mandates across your company and the country. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Thanks a lot, Vijay. So to kick us off, we're going to define the rules by talking about the top 3 seismic shifts that are facing the industry as a whole or your firm individually. These are mounting external pressures, increasing complexity and internal expectations, technology disruption. It is estimated that by the year 2050, we are going to be 10 billion of us. To fulfill that demand, 68% of us will be living in the cities. To fulfill this requirement, we'll need to build around 3,600 more buildings per day. So the global population shifts and urbanizations over the next 30 years, the construction industry will need to build an average of those buildings every day in urban areas. Even so, we are still dogged by unmanageable deliverables in the design and construction industry, a lot of paper-based manual workflows. And so for us to get ourselves out of this, we defined 4 inefficiency traps, which are a limited 2D dimensional view, people working in isolation, a lot of an inspiring, incomprehensible presentation, and also designs that are divorced from reality. It's obvious that the current output for all building designs for approval, they are all communicated through dozens and even hundreds of separate and even inconsistent documents with the data that doesn't really extract a lot of valuable information. In this case, lines, arcs, and circles and text. But also, we've also come a long way by model-based designs that are actually helping in construction firms produce high-quality renderings. And this helps them by using this sophisticated graphics to more effectively illustrate their building skills and track record. So with model-based design, you can more easily outshine the competition that has yet to explore model-based design technology. So that brings us to this, where as an AEC firm, you can solve the inefficiency problems that are blocking the success of your business today by employing BIM. What is BIM? It is basically a process that begins with an intelligent 3D model that captures, explores, and maintains planning, design, construction, and operational data. With this information, you can improve overall project understanding of your buildings and infrastructure projects. You can use and share this information across the project lifecycle, and also respond quickly to changes with processes that are smarter and faster. Simply put, BIM is a way to design, construct, and operate buildings. This involves creating and using 3D models. So this is as compared to 2D drawings. These models give stakeholders a better understanding of the project, leading to better, more predictable building outcomes. So how is it different from CAD? This BIM is more than simply a 3D model. BIM solutions, they use relational database technology that has embedded information and has relationship into these models, creating more intelligent models. So whether you're starting with existing conditions or a conceptual design, an information-rich model is key to realizing the benefits of BIM. With this, you can be able to simulate and visualize key physical and functional characteristics. You can coordinate this project information and collaborate with stakeholders, thus building smarter, more agile processes that help retain knowledge and support quality targets. With today's technology, it's very possible to gather, synthesize, and share this immense amount of data on any given project or portfolio of assets. However, this information is limited. It's what you do with the information that adds value. Project management and oversight is currently very reactive. The data that they receive is a lagging indicator for performance. Currently, we AEC practitioners struggle to get the data from individuals who are busy fighting their own daily battles. So what do we need to be more proactive? This data needs to be timely, it needs to be accurate, and it needs to be complete. And 2D drawings and tabular data versus visual reports, we are changing the deliverables and the processes to create and maintain these project deliverables. So now with BIM, you can create intelligent models before a shovel ever hits the ground. So having this ability to design, build, and operate virtually before construction can greatly reduce risks and impact predictability, reliability, and even quality. So as a project owner, you and others are making thousands of decisions which impact the success of a project. It's very difficult to make good, sound decisions without data. Data is compiled to easily create information. This information is the basis to provide you with knowledge. This knowledge is used to make an actual decision. It's all about improving the decision-making process. Decision-making starts with the data, having the right data format and accessible to the right people. The more common understanding of what BIM is that most people think that it's actually a model. But the correct understanding of this is the information that is contained within that model. And so there are so many benefits of BIM. And these BIM processes actually support more predictable design and construction outcomes, whether you're doing planning and design review and collaboration, project visualization or even simulation, planning and logistics, quantification, coordination, construction and renovation, and even facilities and operations management. If you're looking at the most important global trends that are impacting the industry today, BIM mandates on construction projects, in particular for architects, they have increased duties and new processes to be adopted within a framework that is supported by BIM methodologies. For all project stakeholders, this is a traditional commitment to which most see benefits and others remaining undecided. So if you are at this stage of currently working on level 2 BIM and not at this stage, it is important to be aware that there are processes within projects that can be improved with great effect. BIM is not just happening in isolated geos, and it's not about the software. What we are actually seeing here is a global trend towards a different process of managing the lifecycle of all the assets of the built environment. So adoption of BIM is varying by country, but the consistent theme of growing awareness, exploration, use, and adoption of BIM processes on a global basis. And what's driving this BIM adoption? Globally, drivers ranging from, let's say, government mandates, owner preference, to industry trends, these are driving levels of BIM adoption. We're going to talk about later the UK government's construction strategy that actually states that the UK will become a key part, BIM will become part of the government's procurement of public buildings. So ever since 2016, BIM will became mandatory for all public sector contracts. Not just the UK, but the Nordics have also had a strong history in mandating BIM. On the impact globally, we've had a lot of countries that have established mandates, such as the UK 2016 level 2 BIM mandate, the government of the UK, standards in China and Korea, and movements towards mandates in Australia, Japan, and Indonesia. This component of changes in this technology, they witnesses to include global trends in adoption of BIM. So it's not just happening in those countries. As you can see, its adoption is varying by country, but the consistent theme is actually growing. The other shift I want to talk about is mounting external pressures. So what could be another very big factor of adoption of BIM is that the biggest trend is population growth, as I said. So population growth will bring migration to cities. So this will require that we build a lot of roads and also a lot of structures. Sustainability is also a big push from the community and whether it's building or even infrastructure owners. This pushes them to deliver more sustainable projects. Sustainable in the sense of maybe less consumption of water or electricity or even gas or fuel once the asset is built. So companies need to pay attention to the materials that are being used and heavily reduce the amount of waste during construction and maintenance cycle of the built asset, which could be a building or a road. The other shift would be increased complexity. Complexity is a growing trend, and this will increase with advances in technology and production of products with the demand. And it's a clear benefit for clients that are requiring high quality products with more value for money, and while reduce construction times within these processes. So technology really plays a very big factor because it's allowing designers and stakeholders to gain more insights to very complex projects and remove or reduce issues on site before they arise and develop issues of work within a parallel sequence to reduce unnecessary long durations. Technology also, talking about high definition survey, cloud computing or machine learning, industrialization of construction, and also digital collaboration, as well as other factors such as IoT and advanced analytics sensor networks. Let's talk about BIM mandates. So one of the significant drivers in the usage of BIM is led by countries such as the USA and Scandinavian countries that are actually at the forefront of this. So these mandates, the entities demonstrate how enlightened owners set specific targets and empower design and construction companies to leverage these BIM technologies. So even in the Gulf countries, they are mandating the BIM use, and this trend is expected to grow rapidly in the coming years. Examples would be Denmark, Finland, Norway, Singapore, as well as South Korea. And all these assets this information is available for the public. And most of these countries that have national mandates, they also have reasons for establishing these policies, such as Denmark. As an example, you can see that they're actually mandating BIM to reduce energy consumptions in buildings, maybe improve productivity. Other countries like Norway, maybe they want to reduce errors, gain efficiencies, or even increase energy efficiencies. Other countries, you can even see Singapore, South Korea, and also United Kingdom, which brings us to one of the case studies where we see the United Kingdom leading the front in targeting UK government targets for the construction industry by 2025, and that this they have really set out, where you can see the values there, where they're moving to make sure that 33% lower cost, 50% faster delivery, 50% low carbon emissions, and even reduction of trade gap between total exports and total imports for construction products and materials. This of course has been mandated since 2016 and still is in effect up until today. And this has also become a requirement for all public sector projects. Not only just the UK, but also the EU. And so in January 2014, they also approved a directive for the public sector procurement that encourages public authorities to consider using BIM in public works. So their government, the parliament, they voted to modernize this European public procurement rules by recommending the use of electronic tools like BIM for public design and design contracts. Moving just closer home, you can see that also the United Arab Emirates, you can see that their mandates is also quite a bit different, more defined. So you have buildings that are above 20 floors, buildings and facilities with areas larger than 200 square feet, buildings and special facilities like hospitals, all government projects, and even buildings that are requested from a foreign office. So BIM really supports more predictable design and construction outcomes, whether you're doing planning and design review and collaboration, planning and logistics, quantification, coordination, construction and renovation, facilities and operations management. So let's take a few minutes to look at some of these challenges that you're facing in the construction industries and the opportunities that BIM presents to overcome them. So whether you're bidding to win more business, simply providing the lowest cost estimate is often not enough to gain a competitive advantage. So design and construction firms that bid on jobs need a way to effectively market themselves, convincingly demonstrate their capabilities, and include appealing visualizations as part of their proposal package. So this, by employing BIM processes, this helps them to produce high quality renderings of buildings during all the phases of construction based off initial building plans. So they will use sophisticated graphics to more effectively illustrate their building skills and track records. So whether you are thinking about increasing estimation power, during the pre-construction process, cost estimators, they need to establish preliminary budgets and generate quantity reports. To do so, they often must be able to extract accurate property data as well as 2D and 3D design data from various applications. Traditional manual processes to get this done can be time consuming. So BIM allows them to have more accurate cost estimates by letting cost estimators collect and synchronize all these design data and images as they calculate material quantities for all the building systems and components. At any stage of the design, BIM technology can extract more accurate bill of materials and spaces for the use of cost estimation. Traditional 2D design processes, they involve a lot of multiple disciplines that are working with different systems. So this, as a result, a lot of these construction teams, they rely on manual methods to perform clash detection, a process that can be very slow and even very prone to mistake. The opportunity to improve these coordination issues with BIM technologies lies with the ability to combine partners' design information into a single coordinated model. So here it becomes very easy to identify and resolve these clashes before the construction begins, and even produce more reliable, coordinated, and accurate information. In the field, contractors are even tasked with interpreting design intent from a series of 2D drawings. When working with a coordinated 3D model, as you can see, contractors can get a very good visual representation of the completed work before it's even built. They also have the increased ability to prefabricate materials and deliver to the field on time. I have also attached some very important, useful links that you can also look at, such as government mandates, such as the ISO 19650 standards, and some of the tools that we already have that support BIM interoperability. I invite you to visit these sites and learn more. Thank you. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for the wonderful insight about BIM. Now let's get started with the 10 steps to BIM as the theme of our today's class. Now, step number 1, which we typically talk about, is very simple. Get to know about BIM. Now, how do you get to know about BIM? Is you designate 1 or 2 people to learn more about how BIM will affect the way your team works. For instance, in the 2D world, many firms leave the details to the later stage of the design process. With BIM, many design details need to be worked out much earlier. While getting to know BIM, understand your company challenges, which can be solved with BIM, and you don't have to aim to fix all the issues with BIM in one go. BIM is a journey. You start with few benefits and over the time will implement other benefits and the teams. More important, understand how BIM is going to affect you personally and professionally. So step number 1 is very important. First thing, get to know BIM. All right. So step number 2 is about communicating the change to your people. So BIM has to be an executive decision, as it's not about uninstalling one software and installing another one. We're talking about business process change management. Yes, BIM is a business process change management. High-level leaders should take a leading role in letting people know that firm is definitely moving to BIM. The key word here is definitely moving to BIM. The message is we are moving to BIM because it is critical to our future, not we are trying BIM. So be sure to communicate the anticipated benefits of BIM for your firm and clients. It will be easier to rally the team around the compelling future vision than by talking too much about the mandates and its uses and buts and excuses here and there. It is very important to say why your company wants to move to BIM, what is there for you as a personal improvement as well as a company future. Talk about the benefits from and communicate them in a much clearer and transparent manner. Now, step number 3 is very simple. Account for software and hardware. This is one of the easiest things to look for, but more important and more critical when it comes to choosing these things. So for example, BIM is not just software. You have to understand it's not a software. It is not that you can go to the market and say, I want to buy 5 BIM or 10 BIM. It's not a software. It is a collaborative process that relies on intelligent 3D models. But you will need software to create those models. That is where the software comes into the picture. So take the time to explore the available software and consider whether your current hardware has sufficient processing power. Some older, less powerful hardware may need to be passed on to maybe different team members outside the design department. Think about how you will be considering that. Now, if we talk about the software, for example, you might be looking as a platform. For example, as Revit is one of those platforms, Civil 3D is one of those platforms, Plant 3D is one of those platforms. So you need to have that software which allows you to create that information, create that 3D information, and the metadata, which is the BIM information, as Emmanuel was earlier highlighting about. So you have to think about, are you using are going to use all of those features from that product, like Revit or Civil 3D or InfraWorks, from the authoring capability point of view. You don't need, you don't need to know all of them at any point of time. You might incorporate them into workflows. You don't need all of those workflows at the beginning. You might decide them later on. You also have to look for how you as a company work from with the multiple locations or with the multiple firms. Are you considering working from multiple locations? Do you work from the multiple locations? Do you have offices in different cities or different countries or different continents as well? Do you need shorten the distance between those team nodes? Do you often work with other firms geographically dispersed? Think about how that software could be helpful for you to do it in proper way. Other than that, how would you aggregate the data from multiple sources? This is important because you need to think about if you as an architecture firm, how you're going to gather or share the information to the structure, to the MEP and other. What will be the compatibility? What will be the interoperability? How you will be using the data and sharing the data? That becomes very important from a software point of view. So do you have those tools for collaborating effectively as well? Now, when it comes to hardware, you have to decide what hardware do you need to efficiently execute the project. Does everyone need the same hardware or the same performance? Maybe not, because not everyone will be doing the same 3D modeling, or maybe somebody just needs to put some text, or you might need better hardware capabilities when it comes to rendering, or when you need to exporting and other things. So the networking also plays a very vital role in the whole BIM software and hardware play, because congested network might slow down the process. So what you are looking here is where your teams are located and how do you connect them? Do you have a maximum bandwidth, and how would you be able to do that, and at the same time minimizing the cost? Does your firm have an adoption policy for cloud? Do you believe that your firm can go on the cloud, or do you not do cloud, or you are restricted not to use cloud? So that's also a decision which you'll be making. Now, when it comes to hardware, as mentioned earlier, so there will be the hardware. If it's a less optimal workstation, it might result in poor performance, slow responses, for example, inability to do some common tasks like printing and exporting and all that. Now, why this is important to highlight here? Because sometimes we have noticed that a lot of people, when they go into the project, they do not properly look at the system requirements, what is mentioned in any of the products you will be choosing for. So when you look at those products, they clearly have the system requirements. So if you actually look at the system requirements and provide that hardware as per that system requirements, you will not have those performance issue or slowness for doing any of these printing or exporting or navigating those Revit models or Civil 3D and other kind of information. Now think about networking as well, which plays very important. role in there. So step number 4 is again very important. So what we're looking here is that developing a change management plan. Remember, we are talking about a business change management. So we need to have a plan about how we are going to do that change management. So this plan should document at a high level, very high level, how your team anticipates BIM changing, establish workflows, who needs training, when they will get it, and how you support people when they have questions and issues. Support is probably the most important item and most occasionally ignored. People get trained and they have nobody to ask questions later on. Think about how you can support people when they need that support on their day-to-day work. So organizational change happens faster and more successfully when you help people adopt new ways of working. So it comes back to the people. So what we mean by people is because when you go with a new technology, it's all about how people will respond to that. So with the BIM, there is also the people are going to play the most important and most pivotal role in the BIM process change management. So for the BIM adoption, you might have any good software or any fantastic hardware, but if you don't have a proper skilled people, it may not work. Now, what you can do is you have to do a cultural shift. You need to do an organizational change. The roles and responsibilities will change. You need to define, you have an existing manpower, you can do a skill matrix, who can do better 3D modeling maybe, and who can take part in documentation, who can be a coordinator, who can be maybe a BIM manager kind of thing. So who can be spanning and executing the standards, the workflows, and who can be the people. So with the BIM, as we talk about the people, the typical roles will change. I mean, we have seen new roles coming into picture, the design managers, the BIM design managers. We have seen model managers or Revit champions, or content creation specialists. We have seen discipline BIM coordinators like mechanical coordinator or structure coordinator. We have seen data coordinators, because remember, BIM is about metadata. We have seen on a highly successful BIM projects, the coordinators who are looking after the metadata as well. Now, project specific role also plays a very important thing, because you might have a specific project where somebody is going to do that pivotal role to execute the project. So how do you go and identify the training that people really need to perform at their best? And how do you make the best use of a small training budget and negotiate for more training resources? Why do you need this? So first thing is, you do an assessment about the existing people, whoever need to go training. Maybe not everyone would need the same level of training. What training is needed? You define that. So who needs it? You define based upon the roles. I mean, you don't have to teach everyone everything at the beginning. It can be the role-based training. And you have to identify why is the training important and how will the training be delivered, which is very important as well. For everyone else in the project and the company. Step number 5 is the first step when you start getting used to the BIM. It is you start a pilot program or train the pilot team. Now imagine that you have a very diverse big team, multiple offices and everything, but it does not mean that you stop doing everything today and send everyone for training. You do not do that. What you do is you create a small team. We call it a pilot team, or it could be the BIM champions. You can name it the way you like it. Now, the most important thing for the firms is that it makes sense to run a BIM pilot. If you do dozens of small projects each year, for example, consider completing one pilot and capturing these lessons learned before running several more pilot projects. A firm with just few massive multi-year projects might prefer, for example, to capture lessons learned from an initial pilot as it happens, while also initiating all new projects in BIM. Now, one good tip I want to give you here. When you do a pilot project, you should write down everything you face on daily basis. The good thing, what you've discovered, the bad thing, what you discovered, the help, what you need, who and what happens, what changes. So discover that, write that down is very important. Now, if you are new to BIM, you do not know how to get started with BIM, we at Autodesk are there to help you. So if you maybe go to autodesk.com and search for getting started with BIM, there is a guide which you can download, and use that guide to start how we can, get started with a first BIM project. It's a pilot project guide, what should be considered, who should be involved, everything you need to know about the pilot project is there. Now, step number 6, very important again. Document preferred processes. Now, this is a key, and I can tell you based upon my experience, this is where a lot of the pilot projects and a lot of BIM processes do not succeed, because what happens is everyone tries to do something on the project to make it successful. Everyone, when the BIM comes into the company, but they do not document it. They do not document it, and people get diversified. They get, some people leave, some people get promoted. They change the teams. They get the different projects, and nobody knows what were the lessons learned. So what you have to do is, as your pilot project or projects progress, have the team document those processes. Consider your preferred output and how your team needs to do BIM to support them. It is tempting to create standards. Now, this is one thing, a lot of people advocate about this, and I personally do not advocate about that. You do not have to create the standards before even you have tried the pilot project. A lot of companies, they don't even try the pilot project. What they do is they start doing the standards and other processes and all that. Unless and until you do a pilot project, you will not be able to understand the capabilities of your team, the software you have chosen to do BIM and everything. So you need to know the process, you need to know the tools, you need to know and train the people. Once you have all those things, you do a pilot project, you discover what is possible, what needs to be changed as a process, then you put those standards in picture, but you don't start by creating those standards. So another reason is, once we spend our time, first thing is before we try to do a pilot project, if we start putting those standards, it will slow down your team and it will complicate the BIM adoption process unnecessarily. Because if your team is not 100% familiar with the processes, with the tools, they might not find an answer at that moment, which will lead them demotivated, which will lead them to lose the interest, and ultimately it's going to slow down your process as well. Now, going back to the process, so what is the process we talk about is, we have a good tools, what we are using them, but you need to think, are you using them in right way? So process is means by which we deploy tools, and invariably is more important to success to large projects than any application. Now, the BIM world has a lot of new buzzwords. For example, BIM project execution plan, or BEP. How is BIM to be deployed on this project? That's what the BEP or BIM execution plan is. Collaboration workflows are there to be defined. You need to say how and when do we share the data effectively. You create the standards as a part of the process. How does everyone know the proper format of deliverables? So you define those things. So as an example, so as a process, what you will be doing is defining the project information, defining what will be the BIM used for in company or in the project, define the process design, create the information about the exchanges, the data requirements in and out, collaboration procedures, as well as model structures. And one more important thing is the roles and responsibilities of the people. So you have to also define what is going to be process in the pre-design, what will be the detail in schematic, what will be the detail in design development, how the construction documents will be created. Are we going to be creating the documents from a federated model? How we're going to extract that sections, elevations from multidisciplinary model? You define everything in that process. So you define standards. Once the process comes into picture, you define the symbol libraries, you define the naming conventions, you define the libraries, you define everything and all that. Now, this might sound complicated because process, it's a new tool. You don't know about the tool, you don't know about the roles and responsibilities, you have not heard about BIM before. Now, what I would say is we have a help thanks to the international standard on BIM, which is ISO 19650, already available in the market. So maybe if you are new to BIM and you want to start with the process, probably the ISO 19650 can be your starting point. So when we talk about the BIM and from the ISO standard point of view, so it all starts with an employer or the project owner or the client determining their information needs by phase of the project. The exchange information requirement, that's why we call it EIR. So that EIR or each organization is tendering for a project service, they need to develop their pre-contract BEP that identifies how they will deliver the EIR, employee exchange information requirement. So those exchange information requirement is how the BEP as a pretender will define how they will be doing it. Now, a supply chain assessment summary is required or should be submitted as well as part of the initial pre-contract BEP by each organization tendering for a project to allow the client to pick the best fit supplier. This will cover the competencies of the prospective individuals undertaking the information management function on behalf of the delivery team, along the prospective lead appointed party assessment of their entire delivery team's capability and capacity. Following confirmation of the preferred supplier, an agreement is made and the BEP is further developed with a master information delivery plan or MIDP that is in turn detailed by task information delivery plans or TIDPs to explicitly detail how the modeling will be undertaken and record information provided. This would involve a broad group of involved parties and remain document in a project. Once all the planning is completed, the modeling can begin. At each phase and data is met with the EIR are prepared and submitted. These are checked. Again is the EIR to confirm the completeness and validation of the correctness. Note, an employer should only pay the supplier for work done to meet the phase deliverable. So it is like your pre-project, tender requirements. It is going to be that where once the submission is done as an EIR, as per the EIR data is checked, the payments can be made. So these could be subject to non-payments if they are not confirming. So models and information continue to be developed at a greater accuracy and detail as the progress happens. Once all the phases are complete and the project handed back to the employer with all the validated models and all the data continue to live and updated during operations with how that portion is actually going to be detailed in ISO 9650 part 3, so which actually should be launched by now, probably. I'm not too sure about that one, but think about how you can use an existing standard or the processes in the market from an international point of view, ISO 9650-2, and you can get, you take the great help from that one. Now, again, if you are new and you don't know how to get started with the processes, Autodesk, again, we have created a workbook, or we call it BIM deployment workbook, which is again going to allow you to establish the organization and project team business practice standards. It allows you to look at the all party early in the project and define roles and responsibilities and standardize, define level of development and the key. Now, apart from the Autodesk which you see here, there are other countries and the companies who have created the BIM standards, the BIM processes. We talk about Singapore government, we talk about UK, we talk about those mandates defined by multiple countries, the universities, the other countries. So think about utilizing all the information you might have and utilizing it for your own benefit. Now, what we are looking at, the number 7, which is very important one more time here, is you need to cultivate those BIM champions. You will find that some people in your firm are excited about BIM, 100%. There's always that one person who is excited about the BIM. Perhaps they even learned about BIM as part of their education or while working at another firm. Try to put BIM champions on every pilot project and every team as well. Provide them with the additional training and support they need to help teammates adopt BIM. Step number 8 is train and transition other teams. Now, it's important to provide training to people who are about to begin a BIM project. As I mentioned earlier, you do not have to train everyone at the same time. First, let's go with the core team or the pilot team, and then you have train the trainer. So the common mistake, as I said, is that you have people getting trained across all the projects, and the problem is that by the time they get assigned to a BIM project, they would have forgotten what they learned. So you need to have that gradual train the trainer. You have few people trained by external, but the rest of the people can be trained by internal or internal teams directly from your own requirements of it. So step 9 is integrate with other models. So why it's important? Because once you have created the BIM scope within the firm on the project level and all that, there will be always those new scope. Maybe if you're an architecture firm, you can integrate your model with other firms, which is going to benefit, or other disciplines within your own company, which will benefit on the BIM process from your company point of view, as well as on the project basis. So many firms that they find that integrating models into a single shared model does accelerate the coordination, and it also opens the door to a new level of collaboration. And collaboration is the key of success for BIM. So step number 10, once you have done the basics of BIM, once you have established the BIM on that, so expand and innovate with BIM is the mantra. So as you use BIM, you will find that it enables new visualization. For example, you can expand the same BIM tools for augmented reality, virtual reality, coordination, analysis, documentation, or maybe other associated analysis packages and all that. Look for the ways to turn these new capabilities into value and new service offering for clients. You might be able to offer the virtual reality model to an owner just using your existing model, and you might have a new service offering, for example. So communicate the value of BIM to the current and potential clients in your marketing, and let them know that you are ready to meet the requirements of looming BIM mandates. That is very important, that you need to tell the whole ecosystem you have been working in the past or you want to work in the future that you are BIM ready. You are able to work with the BIM mandates which might be coming into the projects or in the country. So with that, I want to thank you everyone for listening to me and Emmanuel today. Thank you very much, and good luck with your BIM journey. And we are here, as an Autodesk. If you need any kind of advice or requirements or anything, please feel free to reach our partners or Autodesk representative in your country. Will be ready and very happy to help you. Thank you very much.